All right, back into the more normal swing of things now. I'm Paul Mackey. I'm a television operator by profession, but an Idjit in my off hours. This is one Idjit's thoughts on trivia and Men with Brooms today, day 21 of the dog days of podcasting. We're coming into the home stretch of this thing, and I decided I want to wrap up Men with Brooms by the end of dog days, so I'm going to break the 3-show cycle to make it happen. Gravity Falls will be suspended until post-Dog Days. There will be a few more Rockford Files episodes, which are getting the most views, by the way. By necessity, Men with Brooms will be the most frequently featured show through the end of the month. But first, we have my question submitted to the BBC's Round Britain quiz, which was later modified for use on their program. So, repeating that question once again, Calvin Broadus Jr. is sipping gin and juice. A percussive banshee has some candy, which Annabella says she wants. Yusuf Islam is having tea. Which synth-pop act might enclose them all, and why is Brian Setzer not among them? And the answer goes, Calvin Broadus Jr. is best known under the name Snoop Dogg, with his single Gin and Juice referenced. The drummer with Susie and the Banshees is called Budgie, with one of their singles, Candyman, hinted at. And I should probably mention to Americans that what we call a parakeet is referred to as a budgerigar or budgie by the rest of the world. Annabella Lewin was lead singer of Bow Wow Wow, I Want Candy, being more clearly referenced there. And Yusuf Islam is known on stage as Cat Stevens. His album Tea for the Tillerman is referenced. They all might be enclosed by the Pet Shop Boys. Brian Setzer, being a member of the band The Stray Cats, wouldn't be enclosed in a shop as a stray cat. The 6 points would be Snoop Dogg, Budgie, Bow Wow Wow, Cat Stevens, Pet Shop Boys, and Stray Cats. The BBC changed it to an audio question, leaving out the more tenuous Bow Wow Wow, and changing the Banshees to their follow-up group and more appropriate choice of the creatures. I can't recall how all 6 points were allocated in their version, so I stuck with my original text here. How'd you do? So, now we're back to Men with Brooms. This episode was called Death of the Birth Tree. It was 6th on the DVD, but aired 2nd on October 11th, 2010. What is this about? While Gary is showing off the street he grew up on to April, they witness the city cutting down a tree Gary's dad planted on the day he was born. Meanwhile, Prabesh challenges Bill to a complicated tabletop game, and Tanis is attempting to meditate to improve her luck, but she's convinced that Matt is stealing her luck. Does it curl? Pretty much no. There's a curling club, and Ronnie brings Pramesh his broom, but that's all barely counting for anything. That's clearly Canadian. I'm not sure if I need to say that the West Edmonton Mall is clearly Canadian, but it's definitely the most obviously Canadian thing in this episode. If you aren't aware, it is the second largest shopping mall in North America after the Mall of America, where I once worked selling rotisserie chicken. Both were built and are operated by the 555 Group, which is basically the Gurmasian family. I visited the West Edmonton Mall in the mid-'80s when I was about 12, and my memories of it are bigger than the experience of the Mall of America, but that's just perhaps an example of boyhood enthusiasm versus jaded adulthood. And my favorite lines?
That's twice he stole my good luck. No remorse.
Well, if it takes an empty mind, Matt is pretty hard to beat.
Who is? Alia O'Brien plays Tanis. Alia has been working in film and television since 2007, and mostly has had steady experience with single-episode performances like Eureka, Psych, Smallville, Sanctuary, and 2 separate roles in 2 episodes of Supernatural, in episodes I haven't seen yet, so I didn't look into them at all. However, she has had a number of recurring and series regular roles alongside Men with Brooms, shows like Rookie Blue, Bates Motel, Legends of Tomorrow, and Family Law. I was a bit confused about Family Law, so I went down a Family Law rabbit hole. I'm going to try to explain. There was an American Family Law created by Paul Haggis, a Canadian who also created Due South, among many other shows and movies. The American Family Law aired on CBS through 2022. Then there was a Canadian Family Law created by Susan Nielsen, airing originally in Italy and Canada beginning in 2021, though it also aired in the US on the CW beginning in 2022, with the second season beginning on July 7th of this year, and it is still in production. Neither show is based on the other, they just share a title. The American one starred Kathleen Quinlan, Dixie Carter, and Tony Danza. The Canadian one stars Jewel Staite, Lauren Hawley, and Victor Garber. And Aaliyah O'Brien was on the Canadian version. There's also an Australian show called The Family Law, but I didn't dig into that one. What worked? I actually liked the tiny C plot in which Tanis thinks Matt is stealing her luck, and I liked the B plot reveal that Ronnie always beats Pramesh at the board game, and that's why he really wanted to play with Bill, and even that isn't going his way. And then, so what's the problem with that, eh? I'm not sure if I agree with the CBC about the placement of this episode's second in the airing sequence. Gary and April had one date, and now April suddenly wants to do all these things for sad Gary? It works better in the sixth position, as they are still relatively new together, so Gary showing her the town still makes sense, but some of the interactions, as mentioned earlier, fit better with them having known each other for what we might assume is at least a month and a half to 2 months. Either way, though, April's unbelievably over-the-top sympathy and Gary milking it are super uncomfortable to the point of not being funny. Next time is the episode Wedding Knells, which sounds like an episode from season 2 or 3, except those don't exist for this series. Happy hunting! You have been listening to the One Idjit's Thoughts On podcast, produced by Paul Mackey in association with QuadrupleZ.com. Theme music is Too Good by Jack Mangan and is used by permission from him. If you would like to hear other podcasts by me, you might try the Ghostlight podcast, a completed introcast about the TV series Slings and Arrows, or Idjitcast, an introcast for the TV series Supernatural. Both can be found on fine podcasting listening software everywhere or at QuadrupleZ.com. Life is tough, but so are we. Let's make our own memories. Do pine beetles even infest deciduous trees? 'Cause that ain't a pine.